So you guys know that I've been redrawing the map if you've been following us on Twitter. So, here is a copy of the map that somebody just translated all the names, right? But otherwise, this is the map that we use in-game. I've been staying up late, and I spent my time drawing the map. And I told you guys that I started with Vilebrand. Right? And I felt like Vilebrand was the right place to start because it's a self-contained continent island thing. And there's only so many zones in it. They're all from ARR. So there's no... You don't have, like, Stormblood zones overlaying. Because this stuff, and, like, this stuff, and this stuff, like, this gets really messy. This has me nervous. This one, actually, I'm concerned I'm not going to have enough information to know what's right and what's wrong. And Thavner's pretty self-contained as well. So, well, Ultraland's self-contained, but it's actually wrong, because the city is wrong. So, like, the little bit we know about it is already misleading. So, like, something about that island is drastically wrong. So, I have redrawn the coastline. And it's pretty different. So, before I tab over here, let me see if I can have an image that shows how different they are. Yeah. There it is. So, there's the rough outline of how they vary. Now, I haven't done all the islands on the outside. There's a bunch, including one right here that's really big, and the Isle of Umbra, and then Limsa and all of its shenanigans. But this is the final coastline. Now, everything from this point and this point north, we don't have any information on. So I did a rough outline first, and they're still in that rough kind of big smooth outline. But, like, that's actually what Costa del Sol looks like. And this is actually the mess that the mist makes. It really mucks with that. The mist just kind of drifts off of it, and it was added later. So there's a big thing here. There's an island down here, God's Grip. Umbra's out here. Wolf's Pier is out here. Limsa is actually pretty big. Limsa's, like, basically that whole little set of spires they're showing and the label are all Limsa. And then you've got some smaller islands. So you've got another one out here. And then you've got several along here of substantial size. And then down in the Chiadales, I believe there to be 3 islands in the Chiadales, 3 major islands, and then there may be little small barrier islands, but 3 named islands make up the Chiadales. And I believe that's this, like, Turtleback Island or whatever it's called. And then I need to read a little bit more to decide which of these is which, but one is Loch Sly, and the other, I believe, to be Hullbreaker. But it's not very well documented. So they tend to just kind of drift down here. So, and I've got it roughly placed where it needs to go. So, just to show kind of a sense of scale here. So the white islands are the ones that are just rough draft. I've only done the first thing. These things appearing around the outside are wind roses. I haven't done all the cardinals and intercardinals off of them yet, and this side still needs to be adjusted. But this is 2 hexadecagons, 16 segmented circles segmented into 16 parts, because that's how wind roses would have been drawn for your rum lines, and those are actually wrong as well. So these little parallel lines right here, these do happen. Where they happen is where you get to the outside of a circle. See, they're getting closer together. So you've got a pair running parallel like that, and then a little bit wider, and then a little bit wider, and then it kind of becomes pretty regular, and then it shrinks back up. And it's the same with the verticals. As you approach the outside of the circle in that direction, they go through a series of, like, shrinking. However, That's not what's happening here. So these don't really make like a big smooth circle unless there's one missing. And its lines would have still come out of it even if it sat behind this image. Right? So there's one missing right here. And then what's happening up here? Why is that there? Why is that there? Why is that there? Like, these should come out, and there should be one outside of Old Charland coming through it. And there doesn't appear to be. Maybe there is. But I don't think so. I believe this line here is coming all the way out to Charland. And the reason they're drawn this way is because actually this allows you to navigate from one windrose to another as you get out to areas like this and transition to those windrose lines. So what you might do is you might sail to this windrose, come down to here, and then catch one down, and you get pretty close. So you might come here and then catch that line right there. So didn't the ancients mention a southern continent? They did. So there is a southern continent, Mercidia, and there is a continent on the other side of the world called the New World. Alright. So let me talk about... We're about to be doing MSQ stuff and Archer. We're going to start with Archer stuff, and then we'll go into MSQ again. Okay. So, this is the world. At 58 minutes. This is Limsa Laminsa, Vilebrand. Right here. And then Ul'dah, Gridania, Ishgard. And so Old Charland is right there underneath that cloud. If you look real close. That's Old Charland. Right? And so south of us, south of Vilebrand, there isn't really anything there. There might be an island here, it's hard to tell, but like there's a lot of vacant space. It's a big ocean. So just south of the Rotano, it just kind of drops off. Now as we work our way around, this is Garlemald as we work out there. This is Corvos. This is Thavnair. And as we get over here into the eastern continents, this is where you're going to see it. So, Doma, Kugane. Right? Now down below, this is Mercidia. But that's why we've never interacted. Look at how far it is from anything. So our trading routes from Doma would have been to sail around here, which is known to take several weeks. And they would have stopped over in Thavnair, which is why Thavnair is such a rich trading country. And then they would have traded several weeks. Then they would have gone several weeks to trade with Limsa. Is kind of our sea hub over here. And so what you end up with is a journey that is described as taking several moons. A moon is 32 days. As opposed to Earth, where our moon is like 27.4. Now, Mercidia down below comes almost down into the pole, and then there's like a broken off piece. But what's interesting is, like, if we keep going, right? So we take off from Limsa, and we just head east. This is the New World. It's never been named that I know of. I do wonder if they're going to name it Vana'diel. I don't know the shape and knowledge of Vana'diel well enough. New World's big. I wonder if Vana'diel takes part of that. And so I do wonder if some of this came together to make up Vana'diel. It's not quite the right shape, right? But, like, this would be Final Fantasy XIV's Vana'diel, as opposed to, this is Final Fantasy XI's Vana'diel. So it doesn't have to match this to be a place that makes a nod, because Final Fantasy games are not canon to each other. They exist separate from each other. And so for this reality to have a Vana'diel, that's what it could look like. But I don't know. So, just wanted to kind of share my progress. That's where I'm at. So, I know it's not a lot. Like, I've done that little piece. And I haven't even done the islands around it. I'd like to get to the Chiadales. And get Limsa and God's Grip and Umbra and Wolf's Pier and all of the different breaking islands around it off. All the ones you see when you go ocean fishing. Yeah. Final Fantasy XI is another MMO. And then I'd like to get the Chiadales on there. I think that's a pretty big moment, is kind of the formation and everything that supports Vilebrand. From there, it starts to get really hard, because all of Ardenveld, up to basically these mountains that separate it from Garlemald and all that, this all has to get done at once. How do I do this? It's a lot of steps. So the moon is definitely a great reference. There's not really a great way to go from the moon, because, like, the moon's not designed for this. So if we are right here, look at this cloud formation, and then we come all the way back around, look at this cloud formation. The clouds are static. This is a static image. It's not actually a rotating globe, or they would have varying clouds. They would have a set of clouds rotating, and they would have a set of planets, and so we would get a chance to see this continent, but we will never see right here. These clouds just stay here. And so there's no way to use this that way other than locating continents relative to each other and understanding that this continent exists entirely within the northern hemisphere. And so it does help you for understanding the scale of what's happening with your rum lines, which are navigational lines placed on a map for the purpose of seafaring. So, which these are incorrect. So, like, it helps you place that and helps you understand, like, just how close to the top of the world we're getting when we get up north of Ilsabard. So it's a great reference to have, but it doesn't serve a function. So what you end up doing is you end up starting with this as your base map. And then, from there, you have to begin laying in zone maps. Zone maps, and then you have to stay logged in game. And as you jump around, logged in game, and looking at the zone maps, you have to make judgment calls on where things would start and stop. So you end up with something that, here's like an early one. I don't have it. I don't do it on this computer. I do it on my editing computer. So I just have whatever images I was sending back and forth in Discord with some people that were helping me, like, just get my head wrapped around it. So here's Umbra. Limsa is right here. God's Grip is actually a lot bigger. I have a more advanced one than actually that lays the cities in. And so, like, that should be there. This is actually the part of Limsa. So that's some upper decks right there. So this is Limsa. God's Grip comes down, and there's like a set of spires, natural spires, that basically link the two. Visually. Would make it very hard to sail between them. Umbra sits out on its own, with its own little mini island. Wolf's Pier is out here. This is Mist, which is just all sorts of screwed up. Because when you sit right here and you look out, that coastline is like this. Because the Mist was added after this was drawn. So, like, there's some stuff that, like, there are conflicts in the game. You end up with a gap here because this point here connects there. This point here connects there, but then this point here connects there. That connects. there's some weird stuff happening with how things connect. Where, like, you can't... So, like, these two maps actually lay directly over each other. They're perfect. They're perfect. But, like, that's a gap. So you end up with stuff, and then the game is super, super loose with it. So if I go to Lenosha, this is not to scale. Like, it's not like this. Those are actually really close together. Those actually overlap. They sit perfectly on top of one another. And, like, you cannot... There's no way to put them closer together that this connects to here, and this connects to here, and this doesn't get chopped off. So you've got to kind of just sit there and, like, finagle this until you get an actual coastline. But what you end up with is this, right? And I deleted all these. I'm going to have to redo them because you can see they've moved quite a bit. And then there's a couple off the housing district that it hasn't drawn that are the reason you can't see God's Grip. Logically. And so you end up with, like... And you go in and you trace individual zones. Right? So there's God's Grip. There's a set of islands screening. If you stand on this dock, there's an island here, an island here, and an island here. It's not perfect. I would think from 5L you'd be able to see this, but you can't. And from Morby Bay, if you look out, this coastline just cuts off, like right here. And there's an island here. That doesn't make sense. That's been terraformed in between. Which, if you take that as lore, if you take that as intentional breadcrumbs of canon, this view was rendered when they were fixing Lower Lenosha from the 1.0 map. So they were adjusting it for the Calamity. The Mist is once they realized they needed a housing district for wealthy adventurers. So that implies that we have Dubai-level terraforming happening for the sole purpose of housing wealthy adventurers, which makes this such an exclusive, unbelievably expensive use of resources that it kind of makes this whole, like, I can't get a house and I want a house. Of course you can't. This is ridiculous. This is not sustainable. This is not reasonable. The idea that we would connect this island and this land here with Earth so that some adventurers could be here part-time when there is not enough housing districts for the NPCs is insulting to the citizens of Limsa. It's disgusting. Which kind of lines up with housing. So there's kind of some housing lore that isn't in the game that comes out of this stuff because the housing districts aren't accounted for. And so it implies that there is terraforming happening. Because that's the only thing that justifies why one version of map would not have information and one does, is that it's new. Some adventurer wants a place to sit for 3 minutes once every 45 days. And so we totally altered a continent's shape. Local ecosystems spent ridiculous amounts. Was FC available at 2.0 launch? I think so. So this would have had to be post-Calamity right before the launch. So it would have been done. So that means that the Mist was built in 5 years. If we're going to take this as canon and not as game developer oversight, because they didn't think somebody would be nerdy enough and patient enough to do what I'm doing, then that means that the Mist was built in 5 years. And it means the Goblet was built in 5 years. It means they knew they'd need adventurers. And to draw them in, they had to make a preposterous investment into something that would not benefit the citizens of Eorzea. To draw in enough mercenaries that they could salvage a defense against the Garlands and the Beast Tribes. Which is pretty gross. So. It's pretty gross. It makes you think that everybody who complains they can't get a house is whining about something that, like, this guy's like, screw you. And then everybody who does have a house is like, well, I got what I deserved. And this guy's like, yeah, I'm going to 100% smother you in your sleep. So, there's some big ramifications here. It means this guy may legitimately despise me if he finds out I own a personal house. Because we were catered to. Because we're the mega rich. We had things that they needed. Archer's Guild. That's up, right? I think it's up. This is Carpenter. Adder. Everything else is an old Gridania. I don't know if I even have that Aetheryte. Leatherworker. Lancer. Botanist? What am I missing here? Let's see if that'll custom sold. So. Alright, so we're gonna dive out today. We're gonna start with the Archer's Guild. That'll finish up all of the class quests, getting my job stone for Gridania, right? So we've gotten White Mage through its 35 quests, Dragoon through there, and now we need to get Archer. MSQ-wise, we are to 24. We just came out of Toto Rock. I know, thank you for 17 months. Oh, it's way out there. Okay, that's why I didn't remember where it was. It is in the old section. All right. So we're gonna enjoy the Archer's Guild. It's laid out in an identical building to the Lancer's Guild. Almost. Not quite. I think this is a platform there. I had to come here for something. Oh, it's because we've interacted. No? I don't know. Why am I leveling classes at the same time? Because I am on Oceanic, and so I have what's called the Road to 80 buff, and so I'm getting experience too quickly. And so the main scenario is my focus, but I'm level 24. And level 24 on a 35 or a 37 feels silly. So I'm just starting another one. I'll be 35 today. Like, I'm gaining a ridiculous amount of experience. I'll be 35 today for sure. 100%. And then in 2 weeks, when we come back and do all this stuff again, I'll start in another capital city and do it all over. Maybe we'll do, I don't know, Marauder, Arcanist, and Rogue. Pugilist. They all four start in Limsa. Or maybe I'll go to Ul'dah and do, what is that? Gladiator, the base of Astro. I don't know. And the base of Thaumaturge. So. Ul'dah is the next major story city. Okay, so right now I've been doing... I've been coming across a fair bit of Gridania stuff. So we got a chance to see Buscaron in the main story, which was super cool because we just seen Buscaron in side story. So next up would be Ul'dah. So I should do the Ul'dah class quests if I want there to be overlap. I liked the overlap. I liked the overlap a lot. I thought that was really fun to get to see people that we'd already created a relationship with again. I'm guessing that means my dog's been in here if my stuff's all botched. Yeah, it's a really hot spot right there. I get it. Yeah, that got most of it. My lights got lost in the mail. The lights that were supposed to be here by last Saturday. Literally lost. So I was looking for lights to correct this mess, and I paid for them, and then lost in the mail. So we'll deal with that mess. It's been a long week. Sometimes things just don't go your way. It happens. All right. Athelina. Let's do this. Greetings, adventurer, and welcome to the Archers Guild. It's here that the archer and the realm over gather to master the bow. The realm over. Oh, okay. Weird punctuation there, lady. We engage the enemy from a distance, ever seeking to alter the course of battle with a single, well-placed arrow. If you have a mind to become an archer, then you have come to the right place. Do you wish to join our ranks? Yeah. Marvelous! Then allow me to enlighten you on the history of both our art and the guild. The bow is an ancient tool that existed before our fair nation came into being. As an implement of war and hunting both, it protects us from our enemies, even as it keeps us fed and clothed. Archery is practiced in Gridania was born of two distinct styles of bowmanship. The first was devised by the longbow sentries of the Elysian, who once ruled the lowlands, while the second belonged to the shortbow hunters of the formerly nomadic Makote. As you doubtless be aware, both races ultimately came to call the Twelveswood home. Though the two people began as rivals, they gradually learned to live together in harmony. During this time, they learned from one another, and the two schools of archery intermingled to give birth to the art it is known as today. But this wouldn't have been made possible were it not for the Trappers League. The guild was established in order to promote sustainable hunting and cooperation within the hunting fraternity at large. As happy consequence of this union, the guild's members came to engage in friendly contests of skill. Inspired by such competitions, a handful of their number began to focus on perfection as opposed to mere practicality, transforming a skill into what may be termed an art. These individuals would go on to form a guild of their own. The Archers Guild, where men and women gather to attain mastery over the bow. More than a few members of the God's Quiver loose their first arrow within these very halls. And that, my friend, is a brief history of archery in Gridania. Doubtless you're more eager than ever to take up the bow. It would be my pleasure to recommend you to our guildmaster. You must receive her permission if you're to join us. If you would excuse me a moment, I shall see to it that the relevant lists are amended. Pray speak to me again in a short while. Alright. What's up, guys? Did I get the trailer situation sorted? Yes. I have 1 week to get the trailer going, which is fine. It's fine. I have arranged to have access to the tow vehicle on Sunday. It's fine. Remember, this Saturday we have our memorial at 2 p.m. for Mr. Rock Druid. She said she needs a minute, so. Do they actually fire arrows? No. Is there an arrows over here? Not a one. Bet you won't. Bet you won't. Yeah, I feel perfectly safe. A tap higher? I don't know. Try putting an arrow in it. Interesting. Alright, think your lists are all set? Oh, she waves. Hello. So, are you resolved to join the Archers Guild? Yeah. Yeah, I was waiting on you. The look in your eye bespeaks your determination. It would be my pleasure to refer you to Guildmaster Lucene. Lest you worry unduly, Lucene is an affable and kind-hearted woman. Lucienne? Lucienne? Even if those not of the guild have been known to seek her counsel on various matters, and ever have they been given fair hearing. Lucienne awaits you in the training area yonder. Present yourself before her and impress upon her your desire to join the guild. Alright. Greetings, adventurer. I'm told you wish to join our ranks. I'm Lucien, the master of the Archers Guild, and I bid you welcome. Our doors are open to all who have the will to learn. Allow me to explain the basics of our art, and offer you a foretaste of that which we teach the members of our guild. The bow's greatest advantage is its range. Unlike those arms used in other disciplines of war, it allows one to strike at the enemy from afar. Though the bow may not boast the destructive force of a sword or a spear, its myriad strategic applications more than compensate its shortcoming. An experienced archer can immobilize an enemy by striking a leg, or sap its strength with a poisoned arrow. Rise to become virtuoso of archer, and a veritable deluge of death will be yours to rain down on your foes. By fighting from a distance, we can better assess the battlefield and thereby determine the most advantageous course of action. This is of paramount import, as our role in battle is to exploit the enemy's weakness, with the requisite placement and timing, but a single arrow may serve to turn the tide. To this end, the guild seeks to instill a discerning eye within its members, that they may learn to strike at vulnerabilities swiftly and surely. Now, any half-wit can bend the bow, but it's no simple undertaking to become a skilled archer. You must be prepared for a long and arduous journey. Are you resolved to complete that journey? Mm-hmm. That is well. From this moment forth, you may consider yourself one of our number. Now, lend me your hunting log, if you would. I shall add it to the names of such creatures as would provide a fitting challenge to an archer. And to help you on your way, I bestow upon you this short bow. Arm yourself with your new weapon, then speak to me again. I would have you undertake a trial to gauge your fitness to join the guild. Lucky for you, I may actually have gear this time.